I can't even explain to you. People were crying. People were saying, this is so much more than a biscuit. Thank you so much. What we're doing is we're spreading kindness and we're spreading connection. We're facilitating that.
People push you in one direction, then maybe you have to get off your high horse and follow that direction a little bit.
Hello and welcome to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I'm Will Polston. This is episode number 158, and in this episode I'm joined by Lisa Shepherd and Saskia Roskam. Lisa and Saskia are the founders of the Biskery, an online bakery specialising in personalised and branded biscuits. Their business started out as an outlet for their creativity and hunger for adventure after having children. It evolved from a little market stall selling cakes to a six-figure online business creating award-winning biscuits for brands like Karl Lagerfeld, Google and the BBC. The real product, however, is kindness. Not only do they help spread kindness in biscuit form, they capitalise on kindness in all aspects of the business, from the way they interact with their customers and team to their sustainable production processes and packaging. Their vision is to introduce more female qualities to the business world, remove the stigma associated with working mothers, and run a purposeful business that enables women to combine a career with motherhood without the guilt. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about spreading kindness in biscuit form. So Lisa, Saskia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. My two favourite biscuit makers in the country that I'm privileged to have this conversation with. So I'm really looking forward to this episode for a number of reasons. I've had the pleasure of knowing you ladies for quite a number of years now, and for anybody that's listening to this, these two wonderful ladies are some of the best people to follow on LinkedIn, in my opinion. You know, what they put out, their content and everything they stand for is just absolutely wonderful. And I'm really interested in getting into the conversation for a variety of different reasons. I think you're going to inspire a lot of people. So if we can just start. So I normally like to start this episode with why you do what you do. And let's just start with that. So how did you two ladies meet?
We met in 2013 at a digital marketing agency where we both had just started working. Lisa worked on the German client base because she's from Germany, and I worked on the Dutch client base because I'm from the Netherlands. And that's where we really met each other. And we started working together on a little project because I think we saw something in each other. I have no idea why, but it was more like, oh, you're a nice person, you're a nice person. And the energy just felt right. And we missed the flavors of our home countries, especially the sweet cakes and biscuits. And so we decided to set up a market stall. As you do.
So it's one of those conversations. So you sat with a colleague, you're getting on well, and then you sort of both have a bit of a sweet tooth, and you say, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" Nothing fancy, setting up a market stall selling biscuits. That's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Plus, the way we do things is we take it rather seriously. So before we launched the market stall, we had a website, we had a name, we had a brand. So it was a pretty stressful 3 weeks. My daughter was 9 months at the time. So talking of timing, it was probably the worst time that we could have done this, but we're huge believers that there is never the right time. You just have to start somewhere. So I guess that's what we did. And the reason why we do what we do then transpired to be something completely different. So it wasn't necessarily the love for sweet treats anymore. It then became to build a life that inspires us and that loves us and that we love, and to do something that just fuels us every day, and to share that with others and let others in on that, on our journey. So today we're a team of 7. Most of us are working moms, and we all work so that we still have enough quality time with our children, because that was the missing bit.
And that's going to be really important. We're going to talk about that in terms of kind of the North Star vision of the business, but also the North Star that you each have in your own lives. Because I do think, knowing a little bit about you and the business and what you've done, that moment of, I think you said 9 months, your little one was 9 months at the time, has been woven into the fabric of the culture of the business and how you operate and the team that you employ, and making sure that there is that support for working mums, you know, to be able to have something they can do, something they care about, give them that professional life, but also make sure that it's not at the expense of family time and quality time with the little ones. So of course, being digital marketers, you couldn't just have a market stall. You had to have the website and everything else that came with it. And no doubt with your SEO expertise, it was showing on page 1 of Google and all that good stuff before you even had the market stall. But at what point was it that you were doing the work that you and selling these biscuits that you realized, actually, do you know what? There's more to what we're doing than just selling business? Because you have I don't know whether it's kind of the company slogan or certainly something you talk about a lot, which is spreading kindness. So at what point did you realize that they're actually, what we're doing and the biscuits that we're creating, they're playing a bigger part in than just giving something for people to eat?
Yeah, for me, I always think back of the very first personalized biscuit order we did, because at the market, we obviously sold just generic biscuits. They were lovely. They were baked to my grandma's recipe and Saskia's home family recipes, but they weren't anything, you know, they would give someone as a gift as such. But then someone inquired and said, oh, I've seen your biscuits at the market and I love them. But I'd love to have a name on there because my best friend just had a baby and I think that would be a great gift. And we thought, oh yeah, that is a nice idea. Let's see what we can do. So we spent all weekend creating this box that she would pay £20 for. So talking of, you know, sometimes I learned this week to do something that's scalable, you have to do things that aren't scalable. We clearly did that. And we hand delivered the biscuits because the lady was in Leeds as well, the new mom. And she opened the box and she saw her newborn baby's name on there and she cried. And we were like, wow, okay, that is not what we expected. Let's do more of that because that feels amazing, you know, to give a lady a box, and there's so much love and joy. So that was a big moment where we thought, okay, the biscuits are great, but we only have so much time. We need to really increase the margins because we only have 2 or 3 hours a day to give this idea. How can we get more out of this? And the solution was to personalize them and sell them as gifts. And then that kindness element just gave us so much as well.
Yeah, and the second time where we felt that again, into that large, almost as if it was the first time again, was during COVID. So in the first lockdown, Lisa and me knew that our business was gonna just, you know, experience quite a bit of a dip, and we just thought, okay, well, what can we do to do anything? Because, you know, we were at home with the kids, and we said to each other, like literally the first day, we're like, we're going to give away free biscuits because we can bake, and that's the only thing we can do right now. So we set out into the world that people could nominate loved ones who they wanted to send a kindness biscuit to. And the biscuits had words on them like thinking of you, missing you, stay safe, and they could nominate somebody. And we would get emails of people saying, oh, I want to nominate my sister who's down in London. She works on the wards and she's doing such an amazing job. And then we'd get another email saying, oh, my sister's up in Scotland and she's you know, staying at home with the kids and homeschooling while her husband is still going out, and I think she deserves a biscuit. And we got so many emails from people all over the country who wanted to send these biscuits. And so we started sending them out. And what we received in return in terms of gratitude for us sending these out was, I mean, I can't even explain to you. People were crying. People were saying, this is so much more than a biscuit. Thank you so much. And that just inspired us again. It was like, okay, so what we're doing is we're spreading kindness and we're spreading connection. We're facilitating that for people. And that is, you know, is a win-win-win. Everybody wins. And that's what we're doing.
Amazing. And that's one of the many reasons I wanted to get you on the show, because for me, business, regardless of whatever your business is simply a vehicle. and it's a vehicle that normally helps people solve a problem or achieve an outcome. And that's what I really think you're doing. You're using personalized biscuits to spread kindness, as we've spoken about, spread connection, whatever that is. And you've been able to do that for individuals, but then also you've helped some phenomenal brands. I mean, there's two women that literally started cooking and baking biscuits in the kitchen. You've worked with brands like Karl Lagerfeld and Google and the BBC that like really at a big corporate level. You've done tremendously well. So for the people that listen to this episode that are maybe startup business owners, and they were that they're sort of embarking out on their journey, what were some of the challenges that you faced early on, and how were you able to overcome them?
I mean, all of them really. Money, time.
Yeah. I would say the biggest though, and that's why we needed you, was our own minds. Just the whole, oh, we're not ready yet, or we don't actually know what we're doing, and oh, look at them, they have it all figured out. And at some point after working with you, we were like, hold on, we're doing a great job here, we have a great idea, it's clearly working. Whilst it's small scale, we are selling, people are buying what we're doing, and we're getting really good reviews and feedback. So it was a lot of the mindset piece of, if it works on this scale, it can work on a bigger scale. We just need to put the time into it and maybe be efficient with it, and not do everything, but get a team to help us to focus on what we need to do as the business owners. But yeah, it's hard when you're starting out because you don't have that feedback yet. But that's why I'm a big fan of now saying, clarity comes from action, not thought. So start somewhere and stay agile. Keep chipping away, and if people push you in one direction, then maybe you have to get off your high horse and follow that direction a little bit. And because that's what you can when you're small. You can be flexible. So yeah, it was a huge benefit for us to not have a set out business plan and maybe investors that we had sold a certain idea. It was just us doing something, because we've always loved work. We've always worked, even as teenagers, as new mums. It was just, it sounds horrible maybe, but it wasn't enough for us to be mums. We wanted a space where we could be us as well, and you get so much more appreciation. I guess your kids appreciate you later on when they have kids maybe. But it was just such an important part of our lives. So for us, it was just a way to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And I also, like, my dad at one point told me about sweat equity, and I'd never heard of that before. And but it turns out that Lisa and I had a lot of that, because we didn't have money to invest. Like, we both put 500 pounds of our own money into the business in the first 3 months of the business, and that was the only money we've ever invested. After that, everything we made, we put back in the business, and we just, we kept growing the pot little by little. And so my dad said, what you did and how you built this business was with sweat equity, because you put in the labor, the real handwork. And because when you don't have that much money, you have to give a little bit more of your time. And that's what we did. And it's not every business that can do that. I appreciate that. Our business needs flour, eggs, and sugar, and that's, relatively cheap to purchase. Whereas if you're in a digital business, then obviously, you might need more funds from the outside, but there is a way to do it without that much money being put in at the front.
You say relatively cheap. I mean, I was just thinking to myself, I wonder, do you know how many biscuits you've made in the last 12 months? Any idea how many that would be?
Yeah, probably about,
well, she did tally it up, but I think it was about 70,000. I can't read.
Yeah. So that's a lot of flour. That's a lot of eggs. That's
Yes.
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah.
70,000 personalized biscuits. That's a lot of flour. But obviously it's got you to where you got to now. So I touched on it in the introduction. So I have had the pleasure of working with both of you. Originally, I work with you, Lisa, because if I remember correctly, you came across some of our marketing, it might be in the quiz, and I think you joined the Evolve Academy at the time.
Yeah.
And you said about mindset, and you touched on the fact that there was like this comparison piece of, well, yeah, but they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's so prevalent, isn't it, in today's society, particularly due to social media, that we compare somebody else's chapter 20 to our chapter 2, and we're going, oh, but they're there and they're doing this, or we're comparing their front of stage to our behind the scenes, and it can be really difficult. It can be really hard to do that. What would be something even that early on, when, because what it would have been around, what, 2019, maybe 2020,
2020, yeah.
about
In
2020
pandemic,
when we first connected. What was maybe something from a mindset perspective that you gained from very early on being part of the Evolve Academy that made a switch and a difference for you that might be helpful for somebody listening to this?
I was very new to the person development stuff. For me, it's hard to put my finger on it. There was so much that I learned even in the first 3 months of working with you. But I think the whole she believed, so she did, like I think there's so much you said that took me back to the whole, hold on, I can ask for this. It's okay to say this is what's important to me, and that's why I'm putting an emphasis on it. And for me, obviously trying to identify my values, and there's a lot of what you do that just really helped me see how important that quality time with my family was, but then also the freedom of doing the things that I'm good at maybe, and that will also bring back a lot to the business, but that I couldn't do at the time because I was still baking and packing and taking product pictures and all of that. So I think it was just also your way of sort of putting things into perspective, and like, well, if you do this now, if you make this change, whilst it might cost you a bit of money in the short term, like hiring a team and paying for commercial premises, it will free you up. And then obviously my freedom value was like, yay. And then you can do this, and this will lead the business to this. And, just almost like sense checking us. So rather than just the mindset, it was also the business piece, which is why I think you were the greatest person for us in that moment, because you had both to offer. So a lot of it was just hold on, what's actually important to me, because I was worried that we were heading to a stage where at some point we'd be stocked in Tesco, and that was the only way we could do it, because that's what everybody does who wants a big business. And I was like, that's never inspired me. I don't want a huge production site, an industrial site, and some industrial estate where, and then we all wear the whatever white suits and I work 70 hours to get into the supermarkets. And then I think through the work with you, it became clear that there isn't just one path to make business. You can build it around what you like, and it felt so almost like a bit selfish, of like, what do you mean I can decide? It's like, of course you can decide. It's your life, it's your business. And I think it was almost like a permission, to you can do this, guys, and that changed everything.
I think that what you've just said there, I mean, my interpretation of what you just said there is that what you were able to do as a result of, I mean, I played the small part, I had the easy job, you had to do the hard work. But what hopefully I helped you do was realize that actually, no, you can be authentically you as a collective, and go, no, where do we want to go with this? Not, well, the way to go is we have to go in the supermarkets, or the way to go is we need this big industrial warehouse, or the way we need to go is just selling at markets. Is we really got you clear on, right, what do we actually want? But not just what do we want in terms of finances and whatnot. What do we want to represent? Who do we want to stand for? And even when it comes down to things like the way that you work with your team and supporting mothers, and you've got some amazing policies in place that really champion women that have children that want to do well in their career, and you support them phenomenally well as business owners, which I think is just amazing. Saskia, for you, in terms of sort of then being added into the fold, because I know that sort of Lisa was maybe one day going, yeah, I've signed up this thing with this guy called Will, and she's like, hold on a minute, who's this guy? What would you say that, because I remember us even having some conversations fairly on around, like, obviously you're two different people, you know, all right, you've got lots of similarities, but what about when it comes to how have you found, like, with where you want to go in your own life, Saskia, and obviously where Lisa wants to go in her life, but then obviously you've got this amazing business that you both have together. How have you found that for other people that maybe got business owners, that's meant that you've been able to kind of remain great friends and not fall out and have a business divorce?
Yeah. I think, you know, the work that we did with you as a team was almost like it was a little bit like counseling, and it felt like a safe space where both Lisa and I could come with our own theories and our own ideas, and you listened to both of us individually, and what you always do, what you just did as was like, well, what I hear is and that reflection and that space, safe space for both of us to come in and talk about our own North Stars and trying to find a way how to blend it. And also when we came to you, we were at a point where we were so intertwined, like everything we did together. And it was like, you know, we can't go on like this. We knew we couldn't go on like this, but we didn't really know how to untangle it and separate it. And I think that's where a lot of that work that we did with you was so incredibly beneficial. Like, how do we continue on the same trajectory, but kind of, you know, give each other space to do what we are the best at in the business? Because I think we're very fortunate to both have the same values in life, not identical, but near enough. But we both lead different lives, you know. And I think you really unpicked, well, Lisa, what are you really good at? What do you really enjoy doing? Saskia, what are you good at? What do you really enjoy doing? And what it transpired is that really it's like yin and yang. Like Lisa is actually, you know, one side and I'm the other side, and we actually really complement each other really quite well. So again, it's that permission piece for us two together as well, and say, you go do that thing that you're good at, because I'm not that good at it, and I trust you. And you know, and that really helped us so much.
Yeah. I've
And
always been, sorry.
I was just going to say, you said about the intertwining piece, and I think that's so important for anybody really. And again, not just in business partnerships, but in general, is right. Yes, we've got the same shared mission, but who's taking ownership for what? You know, for business owners listening to this, that could be your team members. You know, right? What are you owning? Rather than everybody having a little bit of everything and it muddying the waters, and then when things go wrong, there's no one person that's got ownership. What you did is, Saskia, right? You said, I'm going to take care of this side of the business. Lisa, you said, I'm going to take care of this side of the business. It didn't mean that you didn't have input with each other. It just meant that there was one person that was ultimately responsible for delivering the result and took ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, I always think back of I think it was the wealth dynamic that you got us doing when we signed up to the next level of coaching with you. And that was so valuable because it really highlighted, you know, if you think of a circle, then I covered 1/3 and Saskia covered a different third, but then there was another third, and that was a member of the team, Holly. And we were like, she has those skills, we don't, but she's already in the team. We just need to give her, you know, a different role so she can fill that. And we've been flying since then, but we would have never known this. So, and it's exactly that of playing to our strengths, and still pulling on the same strings, but everybody is doing their bit to then come together and build this business and run it in the best way. And we still try to meet at least once a week to you know, update each other and stay close and be part of what each other's doing. And, you know, there's still lots of messages of go and tell me about your day. How was that meeting that I didn't go to? So we divide and conquer a lot more now, but we do make sure, a bit like in a relationship, when you're busy and one goes playing ice hockey one night and the other one goes dancing the other, you try to have date night one night a week. And it's the same with us, that we just try to not lose touch. So also like being with each other still.
Well, it helps, doesn't it? You know, if you're business
Yes.
partners and you get on it, it can definitely help. It's interesting you said about sort of playing to the strengths, because that's really how I perceive it. You know, when you are doing the things that you love doing, the things that are highest on your values, the things you're great at, the things that inspire you, it really does feel like work. Sorry, it does feel like work. It does feel like play, and doesn't feel like work. And that's the part that I think you girls have done so well with. So let's just fast forward a little bit, because from we touched on when you started off and you had your market stall and you were baking in each other's sort of kitchens and whatnot, but you're not there now. At what point was there was a step change, wasn't there, where you decided, you know what, we are going to take this, I'm not going to say more seriously, but you're going to allow yourself to be in a position where you could scale and do things at a greater that and have a far reach, I suppose. So what was that step change?
Well, to be honest, that really was, I think, the work that Lisa started to do with you, and it kind of coincided with COVID, me being made redundant in my office job, and you telling me to read the book,
The email.
The
The
E-Myth.
E-Myth. I remember, yeah.
I remember laying in my hammock in my living room, reading it and thinking, whoa, okay, so we got to stop working in the business and start working on the business, but we need to have space and time to do this, and the only way to do that is to get other people to work with us. So I was made redundant, went into the business full time, could have looked for another job, but I thought, this business is here, why not just, and it was getting traction because of COVID, actually, because people went online and they were buying things online in a scale that we'd never seen before. And again, as digital marketers, we had optimized one of our web pages for Biscuits by post, and apparently that's what people were looking for in the pandemic. And so our B2C offering really grew in that period. And then towards the end of that summer, businesses also were starting to wake up a little bit again. So it was like a perfect storm for us, essentially. And off the back of that, Lisa quit her job maybe 4 months later or something like that. And that's really when things were like, you know, we can't stay in this kitchen. If we want to hire a team, what are we going to do? And then it just became, a different puzzle to solve.
And for us, and again, I quite like telling that story because it's so unconventional. And I think, again, as business owners, we sometimes think everything needs to be Instagrammable, and so often it isn't. So the way we were able to move out of our home kitchens was, one, we had saved a bit of money from the previous year. So we hadn't paid ourselves a lot of money. We had paid ourselves peanuts, really. So there was a bit of money to spend on, the rent for the first few months if money wasn't picking up or orders weren't picking up, and to pay ourselves and to pay a team. So we knew, okay, we had a bit of money here, but we still didn't have enough to hire a massive industrial site. So we approached our employer, who had just made Saskia redundant, who I had just quit with, because we knew the canteen was empty. Because of COVID, hardly anyone was in the office, and they had basically cancelled the contract with the caterer. So we said, can we use your kitchen because it's empty? And I remember the meeting with the CEO of the business, and we both put a blank piece of paper up of how much we want to pay and how much he want from us. And I think it was 800 versus 300 a month. And then we settled on 400. And, you don't get a commercial space for £400 a month if you just look on Rightmove or wherever. But because we played we just asked, I guess, and we approached our network, and we thought, why not? This is random, but why not? It makes sense. He gets a bit of money, and we can really give this a go. And we did. And then it was similar to hiring the team. We didn't have enough money to hire full-time people. So we naturally attracted working mums because they wanted to work part-time. And we thought, oh, actually that works because they cost half the money for now. And they're still gonna put all the passion and energy into this because that's who they were and who most people are. If you give them a job that they enjoy and a working environment that fuels them. So So that's how it started. And yeah, and they're still with us, and we're not in that little space anymore. But I guess those first steps are sometimes a bit messy and a bit unconventional, but I'm a fan of talking about it, because that's just the truth, unless you have, you know,
Deep pockets.
or very good connection.
Yeah, well, but I just love the resourcefulness. You just thought, hold on a minute, we need a kitchen. There's a kitchen free. Like, let's just have that conversation. Let's go and ask, like you said, which is, I think, is great. And I know a big part of what you're doing now as well, and you've already touched on it, is that whether you realize it or not, you're intertwining the psychology of the way that people operate. You know, as you both know, you were people and you had identities before you were mothers, right? And for a lot of people, when they go into motherhood, and if they're not working or they've stepped away from a career, giving them some sort of creative outlet, giving them some sort of focus of what they can do with their time, albeit that combines with motherhood and doesn't give them sort of the mum guilt of falling like they're away from their kids, but knowing that they can actually sort of have some flexibility is something you've built the whole business around, which is amazing. We're going to talk a little bit more about the vision and the kind of the North Star that you have for the business in due course. Just right now, because I mean, we've been talking for like half an hour or so, and talking all about these biscuits is making me hungry, right? So if people are listening to this and going, do you know what, that sounds like a really good idea, what are some of the ways that people have used personalized biscuits and have bought personalized biscuits from you, whether they're individuals, whether they're businesses?
So we cater to B2C, so consumers, and B2B businesses. We have a little web shop where people order biscuits for special occasions usually, so they can be embossed with names, so it's a happy birthday Emma or whatever, anniversary boxes, new baby, whatever the occasion might be, Easter. And then the probably much bigger side of the business is the corporate biscuits. So we print logos onto the biscuits. We also have a live biscuit printing service, which is a great way to maximize footfall to exhibition stands. So that's the way we work with businesses. And there's so many ways, so many reasons why people order. It might be a launch, it might be an anniversary, it might be to thank clients, to thank their staff, it might be prospect boxes. So if you want to get your foot in the door with someone and, you know, a bit of lumpy mail, it's quite popular. And the reason why people like our biscuits is they've won Great Taste Awards, so they don't just look pretty; they are really nice. The packaging is all recyclable or compostable, so we do our bit for the planet where we can. It's lovely branding, so it looks the par when it comes through the letterbox. It doesn't look cheap; it looks like you've thought about this, and spend a bit of money without costing the world. And it's all made with really high quality ingredients, so British butter, free range eggs, all of that. So yeah, people can find us online, thebiskery.com, Biskery with a K. They can find us too on LinkedIn. We're really approachable. If you email inquiries at thebiskery.com, it's usually Amy or me answering the emails, so you speak to real people. And we kind of offer a completely bespoke service. So if you say, I'm not quite sure, but I have this planned, what do you think? My budget is this, then we develop the idea with you. So we have lots of different ways of branding or personalizing the biscuits. If you say, I don't want any fondant, then we can emboss the message into the biscuit. We do the jam biscuits, which are our kind of signature product. If you say I want something really colorful, then we have different ways of making that happen. So yeah, we help you develop the idea as well.
Yeah.
So
everything is made to order only. Like there
Yeah.
is no retail space where you can get anything off the shelf, because we don't like food waste. So if we get an order, that's when we put on the aprons and we start baking.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned like the happy birthday Emma or whoever. So you can do any form of personalized gift, which you could just send to somebody randomly. And we're going to talk about something that you do on a Tuesday in a moment. But also there's corporate stuff. I mean, I name dropped a few, but there's been some pretty big names that you've worked with? I mean, Karl Lagerfeld, Google, the BBC. What are just some of the others? I mean, what's another sort of half a dozen names that you've because I think you ladies undersell yourself in terms of
Yeah, we
the
do.
types of business the
Yes.
types of businesses that you have had these brands create these personalized biscuits. So what are some other companies?
Penguin Publishers, Fendi.
And Summers, Meta, a football team that we're not allowed to mention.
Yeah, there's quite a few NDAs that we've had to
Yeah.
sign actually, and that tells you that might tell you a little.
And
Yeah,
some
so
brands are so high end that we don't even know them. There's a handbag brand, Moynat, I don't even know if that's pronounced right, but
Yeah.
make beautiful handbag biscuits for them. And we were like, oh my word, can we really charge that? Because they were a lot of work. And then I looked and one handbag cost like £3,500. I was like, I think they can afford
yeah.
it.
So these corporate brands is what they've been using them. So there'll be people listening to this going, wow, how could I incorporate those at my like event? Because it is something that it sticks in people's minds. It reminds them of what's gone on, and obviously they taste good as well. I can confirm I have had quite a number of them in the past. And then last year you also made these. I had however many hundred of these done for my book launch. So everybody at my book launch got a little copy of the front cover of the book, branded on a biscuit, which was pretty cool. You know, I'd what my girlfriend had got me a cake with the book on it, and then literally later that day we had hundreds of biscuits with the book cover on it. So there's loads of different ways that you can use them in a corporate way that just add something a little bit different, isn't there? But yeah, you've done phenomenally well on that side of things. But then let's talk about Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tuesdays is what we call Gratitude Day. And it's one day in the week where we give away free biscuits. And that is really a how do you call that? It's what remained from the biscuits that we sent out in the pandemic, free of charge as well. And we were so touched by what happened during the pandemic and how people experienced that. I don't know, that how people experienced sending those biscuits. And that when COVID kind of ended, we were like, well, we don't want to stop this because it gives everybody so much. And it's given our business so much. Like off the back of those biscuits, we got a lot of exposure, which wasn't anything that we planned, but you know, that's people. If something happens in people's lives that they appreciate and that they're grateful for, then they share it automatically, you know. So the word of mouth that we received off the back of that was amazing. And so yeah, we still do it to this day. Every Tuesday, you can send someone a thank you biscuit who you appreciate and are grateful for to have in your life. And that really, those things for me make this business for me. You know, I even get emotional about it because I think we gave when we had nothing, like, you know, and I think that's the only way that we can be as people, us two. Like we give when we have nothing, and to continue doing that when we grow, you know, I feel like you can't just give back when you have. I feel like you should always give, because even though we said we didn't have much, we had more than other people had. And at that point, we had the ability to bake biscuits, and we had the ability to give them away. And definitely now as we grow, we have more and more opportunities, and we're a little bit better off, so we can, you know, give more. So now we do it every Tuesday. You can come onto our website. There's a code, 100 gratitude. You fill it in at the checkout, and it's completely free. No postage, no nothing. We just we send it for you.
And that comes back to what when you said about you the real product is kindness, and you spread kindness in biscuit form, because being able to do that, give that person that acknowledgement, obviously that's coming from you in this instance, but just being able to give people that appreciation, and the fact that it come from that unconditional place of, do you know what, we want to help other people. And there'll be a lot of people listening to this, and this is what I encourage you to do, guys, is that if you right now are listening to this and there's somebody in your life that you care about, somebody in your life that you appreciate, somebody in your life that you think, you know what could I do today that could put a little smile on their face? Send them one of these biscuits. Yeah, just do it. It's only gonna be one person. Send them one of these biscuits. Girls, is there like a discount code that we could give people if they want to sort of place this order today? So if they're listening to this, I mean, if you're driving, don't do it right this second. But if they're going to go and place an order, is there a discount code that we could give them that gives them like 20% off or something?
Yeah, let's create a 20% discount, make it happen. If you head to the website, you can use it in the web shop, or if there's something else you'd like, email us and quote that you've listened to the podcast and you get 20% off.
Yeah, so go and do that. I encourage you to, because look, you're going to be supporting two fantastic businesswomen, but the feeling you'll get from doing this and giving this to somebody else, that's really where you're going to get that. And like you said, the feeling that you get every time that you're doing this would be absolutely amazing. I just want to touch quickly on kind of your North Star and what you have as a vision for the business, and some of the other things that are interwoven into that. First of all, what is that, and how important is that in terms of what you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
Do you want
Um,
to? I think for us, we are at a space now. We rebranded about a year ago, which was also part of our North Star in preparing the business for growth. We had started a brand. We used to be called Bloom Bakers. Name was thought up on Lisa's kitchen table. And we got it to the place where it couldn't grow anymore further as a brand, really. So we rebranded 12 months ago, and we became the Biskery. And it was the first time that our entire experience as why we're doing this, how we're doing this, who we want to become, down the line, was made visible. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences. It was like giving birth to something. It was beautiful. You will not find, I think you said never say never, but you will most likely never see a huge warehouse by the side of the highway where there's a big production plant that is just churning out biscuits to go into Tesco or Waitrose or anywhere. Our mission really is to bake as many biscuits as this country, the outside world out of that wants, to facilitate and spread that kindness and connection between people. And that can be, a business towards its team. It can be a mother towards their child. It doesn't really matter. We think there is a huge scope for this. We think we are only at the beginning of this business journey, because so many people have never heard about the Biskery. So we really think this is still in its infancy. And we just desperately want to showcase that there is a way to work with your people that respects their circumstances. And in our case, a lot of that is working mums. And so whilst we might not work conventionally, and whilst our I guess our North Star has never been to become rich and billionaires. I've listened to enough podcasts now to know that money isn't going to make you happy. But we want to create a business model where the employees feel valued, validated, and where our customers feel true connection and true kindness. And I believe that this business can fly in ways that we can't even fathom yet.
And the other element I would just add is as well the respect for the actual product, because we're not selling cards or, it's a food business. So, we're not going to compromise on the ingredients we use. And the way we pack them. You know, we're never going to wrap our stuff in plastic to save money. And that just means that we have a certain margin, and that means we probably don't appeal to, you know, the retail space, and that's okay. So I think our North Star now is to scale as we are, you know, because there's no reason why we can't have more Biskeries in the country. We could have the setup we have now here in Leeds, we could have in London or in Manchester or anywhere in the countryside, and a team of women run this ship and ship the biscuits UK wide and maybe beyond one day. So that's what fills us with joy and passion and energy, to think that we have all these teams of women working together around their families, and stick to our values of making a really great product that tastes great and waste nothing. Because again, you can't work with a supermarket without wasting about half of what you bake, and that's just not something that would ever make us proud.
I think I was chatting with another client of mine about a month ago or 2 months ago, and they were saying about how they really wanted to keep that. Well, what the term she was using, and this is a perfect example of sort of limiting beliefs, is she was saying a small business. I want to say a small business, but that's what she was saying, but it's not what she meant. What she meant was she wanted to keep that intimate family feel, and in the way that the client feels looked after and they feel like they're, and then when I sort of got her thinking, well, think about sort of, and this particular person had been to some very sort of luxury hotels and 5-star hotels. And I was saying, when you've been to those big corporate 5-star, I say corporate, big global brands where there's multiple hotels, did you feel looked after? Did you feel supported? Did you? And she said yes. And it wasn't about that it was a small business. It was a very, very, very big business, but it was the processes and the values of the organization that made them feel like that. And I think you're right. You know, it may well be that you've got multiple of these different types of venues that people are buying into. And I just want to touch on something else as well, because you said about not necessarily like you make everything and everything else. And when we're talking about your services and the corporate services you're doing, one of the other things I've absolutely loved was we said about being resourceful early on, and there was the old kitchen, the old company, but also you had an opportunity, I don't know when it was, maybe not that long ago, a year or so ago, where somebody's called you up and they've asked you a question, and I believe I'm running saying you didn't know how to do it, you didn't know what to do, but it was very much that Richard Branson approach of say yes and work out after. What was that, and how's that beneficial, and how can people listening to this benefit from that?
Oh, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's how we started everything. Someone said, oh, can you put my logo on a biscuit? And I think the first time we literally carved it out of clay and then embossed it into the biscuit. Like we're just little MacGyvers, really. But yeah, the biggest thing was when someone who has a business based in Israel said, oh, I've just been to Vegas and they were printing people's selfies onto biscuits. Can you do that? I've scoured the internet, can't find anyone in the UK. Can you do that? And we were like, I know exactly which machine this is. We don't have the machine, but if you book us for this event now and pay this money, then we're going to get the machine and make it work. And she said, let's do it. So 3 weeks later, we were in London printing people's selfies onto biscuits, and it's now an arm of the business that we're growing. And it's amazing. People love it because it's so innovative. It brings so much fun and buzz to the stand. We kind of appear, or our team, as an extension of the sales team. So we're not branded as the Biscuit, we're branded as whoever books us. It's all prepaid, and we drive up to 40% more traffic to their exhibition stands. So it's an amazing way of engaging people into and standing out from the crowd at those exhibitions.
Yeah, it saves having the old tombola or the putt, but 40% more people to an exhibition stand, which in the grand scheme of things, depending on whatever business you're in, the amount of traffic that can the amount of revenue that can generate from being at those exhibitions, because you've got to make hay whilst the sun shines, right?
Exactly.
You're there for 1 weekend or 1 week or whatever it is. You want to make sure that you're leaving that lasting impression, which comes back to the kindness piece again, because they're giving these biscuits away, but all of a sudden they're probably for the first time eating a biscuit with their face on it.
Exactly.
Which I can imagine feels a little bit weird.
Well, most people think exactly that. So now we've kind of tweaked it so that people can also send us a picture. So then it's not their own face, but maybe their dog or their child, which is also weird to eat, but then they pass it on.
I thought you were going to say, but then people thought the same. So then now what they can do is send us a photo. So people send us a photo of their ex.
Yeah, well, we might add that to the
Yeah, I
mix
might
now.
have had that. Yeah.
Amazing. So in terms of kind of this looking ahead, like let's look at the next year. Your story is inspiring. The way that you do things, you're so authentic. You are two wonderful ladies, and I just love everything you're about, what you're doing, the mission you're on. What's happening over the next year, and if people are starting to connect with you, and I mentioned go and find these ladies on LinkedIn. They're amazing. What's happening over the next year? What can people be seeing from you, and what can we expect to see from the Biskery and Saskia and Lisa?
I think you can expect to actually hear and see us online now. Like I said, the last 12 months, we've really worked hard to establish the Biskery. And right now we're at a space where we have the blueprint of the business, you know, for the first time in 8 years. We really understand what this business is, how it can serve others out there. And in the next 12 months, we're really gonna push, you know, that from that base upwards. The foundation is there, and we're just gonna push it upwards and really get more people out there to know about us. Because when people do, the general reaction is, oh my God, why didn't I know you guys existed? I'm gonna go to the website right now, and you know, it generally just excites people to hear A, about the product, and B, about our ethos. And those two together seem to be rocket fuel. And we just, we just gonna get comfortable shouting about ourselves a little bit more, Will, because I know you know that we're not great at it. I was in an event yesterday and I dropped off some biscuits, and the lady was saying, oh, you guys should try and maybe get onto The Apprentice, and you know, and I was like, huh? No, we don't need to go on The Apprentice. I said to her, you know, we bake for Google and, you know, Meta. And she looked at me, she's like, oh, okay, well, let's connect on LinkedIn then. I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
So a little bit more of that.
Yeah, more of that. I think that, like Saskia said, the last year was all about, because obviously when you rebrand, your website takes a dip, and our website is our shop front, so we weren't visible for a few months. So it took about a year, and now we're there. You know, we're ready, and everything's going well. But it could, you know, if we put a bit more power behind it now, it will go even better. And so this year is all about improving that, and just doing more of what's working well, and the laser focus on the three things that work, which is our web shop with the personalized orders, the logo biscuits, and then the events, and just not get sidetracked with all the other things we could be doing, because there is really an infinite amount of beautiful things you can do with biscuits. And I think last year we got a bit carried away with different ideas, and I think we've learned the lesson, and it's just, you know, keep it simple and tell your story even more, because as you say, people do love to understand the drivers, the people behind a business, and we do have a good story to tell, and we want to inspire others to trailblaze a path for themselves. So if we can share that on the way and inspire others, then that works for us.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to say it again. You've got a North Star that is to introduce more female qualities to the business world, remove some of the stigma associated with working mothers, and run a purposeful business that enables women to combine a career with motherhood without the guilt. And by doing that, by spreading kindness in biscuit form, is just wonderful. So I'm going to say it again. For anybody that's listening to this, wherever you are, go to thebiskery.com.
Biscuit.
So Biskery.
Yeah.
Thebiskery.com, and just think of somebody, one person, whoever that might be, use the discount code Make It Happen and send them a form of appreciation and kindness, and I think you'll be amazed at what they can do. Ladies, it's been lovely having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks
you,
Will.
Will.
Such a pleasure.
And for everybody that's been listening, until next time, make it happen. Thank you for listening to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share it with anybody that you think could benefit from it, and also make sure that you hit subscribe so that you get the new episodes as soon as they're released.